You know that feeling when you walk out to the mailbox, see that official-looking envelope from the county, and your stomach just drops a little? You open it up, look at your new property tax bill, and think, how on earth did it go up again? I'm on a fixed income here. Listen to me. There is one piece of government paperwork you can look up right now. It'll take you maybe 5 minutes. That has the power to permanently shrink that bill for a whole lot of you watching this. I'm not talking about some temporary political relief check or a one-time rebate that vanishes next year. I am talking about keeping thousands of your own hard-earned dollars in your bank account year after year for as long as you have your name on that deed. And the heartbreaking reason most folks never get that money back isn't because they don't qualify. It's simply because nobody ever sat them down and said, hey, this document exists. Nobody pointed a finger at the page and showed them the one specific detail they need to look for. And let's be honest, bureaucrats at the county office aren't exactly in the business of handing back money, so they aren't going to take the time to explain it to you. Now, just downloading this file isn't going to magically lower your taxes. You have to know exactly which line to run your finger across once you print it out. If you skim past that line, you are literally walking right past money that belongs to your family. So, grab a cup of coffee and stay with me, because in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what this document is called, where you find it, and the precise little detail hiding inside it that can take a machete to your tax burden. I'm also going to walk you through the silent, everyday mistakes that are draining millions of homeowners dry. I'll show you who is most at risk of carrying one of these errors on their county record right this second, and the simple form you use to make the county fix it. Please, stick around to the end, because I'm also going to share a few extra ways to knock down that tax bill beyond just fixing a typo. I promise you, at least one of those extra methods applies to almost every single person watching me right now. This is real money we're talking about. It's the money you need for groceries, for medications, for your grandkids, and by the time we're done here today, you'll know exactly how to go out and protect it. My name is Marcus Thorne. I've been a property tax consultant for over 15 years. Over that time, I've sat at countless kitchen tables with honest, hardworking families, drinking coffee and going through their property records, line by painful line. And if there's one thing that keeps me awake at night, it's the pattern I see over and over. Good folks paying way more than their fair share simply because of a bad number sitting on a county computer somewhere that nobody ever bothered to double check. You worked your whole adult life, you made the sacrifices to pay off that mortgage, and yet a quiet administrative goof, sometimes made by a tired clerk 30 years ago, is quietly robbing your retirement fund every single year, and you don't even know it. I am making it my mission today to ensure that stops happening to you. Let's start with what this piece of paper actually is. Once you understand this, the whole puzzle is going to make sense. It's called your property record card. It doesn't cost you a red cent to look at it. It's sitting right out there in the open, completely public, on your local county assessor's website. If you've never looked for it, don't worry. The whole process takes about 5 minutes. You just type in your home address and boom, your house's entire history is sitting right there on the screen. But inside that record is a treasure trove of information that most homeowners go their entire lives without ever laying eyes on. It's the complete structural blueprint that the government uses to decide what your home is worth. We're talking every square foot, your bathroom count, the type of foundation you have, whether your basement is finished, all of it cataloged all the way back to the day the builders first poured the concrete. Now please hear me on this next part, because it is the absolute bedrock of your tax bill. Most folks sitting at home assume the county just hops on Zillow, looks at what the house down the street sold for, or takes your original purchase price and tacks on a little inflation. That is absolutely not how the system works. The assessor's office actually calculates something called your gross living area, or GLA. They take that square footage, combine it with a bunch of confusing codes for your building materials, and run it through a massive computer algorithm to spit out your assessed value. That living area calculation is the whole ballgame. It is the single most critical number in the entire property tax equation. Your entire tax bill is built on the back of that one number. Let me put it in plain English for a second. Imagine you have a screened-in back porch. It's not heated, it's just a place to sit in the summer. But what if, on the county's record, some clerk accidentally marked it down as a fully finished, climate-controlled master bedroom? Suddenly, that inflated square footage gets dumped into your total. It drags the entire assessed value of your home sky high. And since your tax bill is just a percentage of that assessed value, one sloppy measurement is quietly making every single tax bill you ever get much, much heavier. It's like being forced to pay the tab for a 5-star steakhouse dinner when all you ordered was a side salad and a glass of tap water. Except, in this case, the bill decides whether you can actually afford to age in place in your own home. That right there is why folks who find and fix even one tiny classification error suddenly see a massive permanent drop in their taxes. The county isn't doing them a favor. They're just finally paying the fair, honest rate they deserve to be paying from day one. And the absolute only place on earth where you can see the raw, structural data they are using against you, the actual history going back decades, is on that property record card. Your taxes are born from those numbers. But you are kept in the dark unless you actively go look up this document and read it for yourself. Think about that. The most important financial figure attached to your biggest asset is built on information you've never been shown and that the government has never, ever asked you to verify. So why does finding this document lower the bill for so many everyday people? I'll tell you why. Because human beings make mistakes. Every single number on that card came from old building permits, a guy driving by in a county truck, or hand-drawn sketches submitted over the life of the house. We're talking about decades of paperwork shuffled around by dozens of different clerks. And sometimes those records are full of glaring, expensive errors. Maybe it was a year where a field appraiser just typed a 4 instead of a 3 for your room dimensions. Maybe you did a modest little kitchen update back in 1998, and somehow it got logged into the computer as luxury-grade custom construction. Or maybe you have a half-dug basement that the county thinks is 100% finished living space, when you know darn well it's been nothing but bare concrete, spiders, and storage boxes for 20 years. Every single one of those little mistakes pulls your assessed value higher, which means the check you are painfully writing to the county treasurer right now is fatter than it legally should be. And I'm not talking about pocket change here, folks. Independent studies of municipal tax data show that just one single error in how your living space is classified can inflate your property tax bill by roughly $150 a month. Just let that sink in for a second. One bad keystroke by a clerk, and you're out $150 every 30 days. That is $800 a year, gone with the wind. If you've lived in that house for 15 years, that one tiny mistake has quietly robbed you of around $27,000. $27,000. From a single mistake on a single line of a document you didn't even know existed. And heaven forbid you have 2 or 3 things wrong on that card. You can go ahead and multiply that pain right out. Now, here's the part that usually gets my clients fired up, and it should motivate you too. The county assessor is never going to correct these errors for you. There is no county auditor double-checking the math. There is no automatic alarm that goes off. You are never going to open your mailbox and find a letter from the government saying, "Hey there, we think we might be overcharging you. Maybe you should take a look." No. The data goes into the machine, your bill gets spit out, and unless you personally open up that record and compare it to the actual 4 walls of your house, that error will just sit there. It will silently drain your bank account year after year until the end of time. That money isn't going to come looking for you. You have to roll up your sleeves and go protect it yourself. Now, you might be sitting there wondering, "Marcus, is my house really one of the ones with a mistake on the deed?" Let me tell you exactly who is sitting in the crosshairs right now. If you recognize yourself or your home in this list, I need you to promise me you'll go check your record this week. Do not put it off. First, anyone living in a home built before the year 2000. Let's remember how things were done back then. Property sketches were drawn by hand on rain-soaked clipboards by field appraisers. Then, a clerk back at the office manually typed those scribbles into a ledger. Honest, everyday human mistakes were incredibly common. If your house has some age on it, or if it was built in different phases over the years, your record is a prime suspect for sloppy errors. Second, anyone who bought a home that was renovated by a previous owner or a flipper, the way local governments close out building permits is a mess, and it often leaves phantom structures on the books. Let's say the guy who owned the house before you tore down a rotting shed, filled in an old swimming pool, or removed a covered patio. Very often, the county still has those things listed on your tax assessment as if they are still sitting right there in your backyard. If you aren't the original owner, you need to examine those structural details with a magnifying glass. Third, folks with oddly shaped lots or homes built on a slope or a hill. Every few years, counties update their automated digital mapping software. When they do, there's a very high chance the computer algorithm accidentally classifies unusable land, like a steep, rocky ravine or a swampy wetland, as premium, buildable acreage. The weirder your property lines look, the higher the chance a computer got confused and overcharged you. And fourth, and I'll be honest, this one absolutely breaks my heart because I see it so often, widows, widowers, or folks who recently inherited the home after losing their spouse. Here is the tragedy of what happens in that situation. When you update the deed to put the house solely in your name, the county's automated systems almost always treat it as a new ownership. When they do that, they automatically strip away vital tax protections like your senior exemption or your homestead tax freeze. You get booted right back up to the standard maximum younger person tax rate. All the legal shields that you and your spouse worked so hard to put in place are just coldly wiped away by a computer reset. If you have lost a spouse and had to update your deed, verifying your exemptions is one of the most important financial chores you will ever do. There's one more little secret inside that record card that catches people off guard, and it is worth its weight in gold. If your home is showing its age, and look, let's be real, roofs leak, foundations settle, and 20-year-old electrical systems get tired. You need to understand how the county views your property. To squeeze out the maximum amount of tax revenue, the assessor's default setting is to blindly grade almost every home in the county as being in good or average condition. That little assumption drives your property value straight up. But here is where you fight back. Sometimes your home just isn't in good condition. Sometimes you're living with a cracked driveway, an ancient HVAC system, or deferred maintenance that would cost you $30,000 to fix. The county is completely blind to those struggles. But if you can prove the real physical condition of your property and force the assessor to downgrade your rating from good to fair or poor, you can instantly shave 10% to 20% right off the top of your tax bill. Put a couple of those corrections together and you are talking about massive life-changing savings that stay with you forever. Let me tell you a story to show you what this actually looks like in real life. Because I know percentages can sound a bit dry. I had a client I'll call David. David is a hardworking guy, mows his own lawn, keeps a meticulous house. He owned a solid brick ranch built back in the early 1980s. Decades later, right as he was tightening his belt to transition to a fixed retirement income, a neighbor told him to pull his property record card and take a look. When David finally did, he saw something that made his jaw drop. The county had him listed in black and white as having 3.5 bathrooms. Now, from the day the builder handed over the keys, that house only ever had 2 bathrooms. Some assessor, 30-odd years ago, had just scribbled down the wrong number. And year after year, through different mayors and different economies, the government taxed David for a phantom bathroom and a half. He had no clue. So he took his smartphone, snapped a few time-stamped photos of his interior layout, and filed a simple routine appeal. His annual tax bill dropped by almost $1,200 permanently. That money had been unjustly siphoned out of his wallet for nearly 30 years. The only thing that finally stopped the bleeding was David sitting down at his table and opening that record. Same David, same house. The only difference was that on one random Tuesday afternoon, he decided to look at the facts. Let me share one more with you, because this one is incredibly common all across America. I'll call her Sarah. Sarah bought a nice little home with an unfinished basement. She raised her kids there, and for 20 years, she never put up a single piece of drywall down there. It was just a place for the washer, the dryer, and old Christmas decorations. Over time, her town got popular. People moved in, property values skyrocketed, and her taxes went through the roof. She just gritted her teeth, tightened her budget, and paid it. Decades later, she finally looked up her property card. Right there on the page, she found that her entire dingy basement was classified as 100% finished living area. What happened was infuriating, but simple. During a mass reassessment of her neighborhood, the county's computer just assumed that everyone on her street had finished their basements by now. So they jacked up her assessed value. That inflated artificial rate got locked into the system, forcing her to overpay for a decade and a half. Rooms that literally didn't exist. Drywall that was never hung. Carpet that was never laid. Just floating out there on a county server, forcing her to write bigger checks. When she finally requested a field review and made a county assessor actually walk down her basement stairs, her bill was slashed back down to reality for the rest of her retirement. Listen to me. If you live in a house with an unfinished basement, an unfinished attic, or a raw garage, I'm looking right at you. Go check your card. You are at the absolute highest risk of being overcharged. Now, fixing a glaring mistake on your physical property card is the biggest home run for a lot of you. But I told you at the start that I'd give you more than just that, because not everyone has a phantom bathroom to cross off. So, let me share 3 more strategies that wrap right around this document to help lower your burden. Because the goal here is plain and simple. You should only pay what you legally, fairly owe, not a single penny more. The first method applies to just about everybody. And it's what folks in my business call comps, comparable properties. If your property card shows that your home's assessed value is significantly higher than 5 identical houses sitting on your exact same street, you have the grounds for what's called a uniformity appeal. The law says the tax system has to be fair and equitable. If you can print out the public records proving that the folks next door and across the street are paying 15% less for the exact same square footage, it legally forces the assessor to lower your value to match theirs. For a lot of homeowners, spending a Sunday afternoon being a little nosy and looking up their neighbors' public tax records yields a bigger hourly return than any job they ever worked. Second, timing is everything when you fight back. Counties operate on a very strict, unforgiving clock called the appeal window. Usually, you only have about 30 to 45 days after they mail out the new assessment notices to file a grievance. If you throw that notice in a drawer and miss that window, you are locked into that higher tax rate for the entire year. And in some states, you're locked in for several years until the next cycle. Knowing exactly what month your county opens that window is an absolute shield for your wealth. And third, please do not assume the county is automatically giving you your discounts. If you are a senior citizen, if you served in the military, or if you are living with a disability, there are heavy, powerful exemptions available to you that go way beyond the standard homeowner's discount. Things like senior tax freezes and homestead exemptions literally put a concrete wall between you and the inflation of the housing market. So many folks leave staggering sums of money on the table because they look at their tax bill and just assume the county already factored their age or their veteran status in. Most of the time, they don't. You have to proactively apply for them. Every single one of these approaches is a completely legitimate, 100% legal path to a lower tax bill. And every single one of them begins the exact same way, by pulling that property record and genuinely understanding what the government thinks it knows about the place you call home. So here's exactly how we do this, broken down step by step. Go ahead and grab a pen, or just bookmark this video so you can watch this part again. But before you start clicking around on the internet, I want you to gather up any old paperwork that proves the true state of your home. Find old appraisals, the closing documents from when you bought the place, contractor invoices, or just take some fresh photos on your phone of any unfinished or degraded areas. Put it all in one manila folder before you sit down at the computer. The more evidence you have in your hands, the stronger your case will be. And hey, if you have a dusty old box of real estate paperwork up in the attic that you've been meaning to throw in the trash, do not touch it until this process is done. That cardboard box could literally be worth thousands of dollars. Step 1, go to the internet and find your county assessor or property appraiser's website. Look for a button that says something like property search or record search. It is completely free. This is a public official government database, and it only takes about 2 minutes to type your address in. But please, hear this critical warning. Only use the genuine .gov or .us websites that belong to your local government. Do not click on some sponsored Google ad from a company promising to lower your taxes for you. Step 2, open up your property record card and navigate to the section that says Building Details, Characteristics, or Improvement Data. You're going to see a list detailing your total square footage, your room counts, the year it was built, and those condition grades we talked about. Step 3. This is the step that actually puts cash back in your pocket. Run your finger down that screen and compare those county numbers, line by line, against the reality of the house you are sitting in. You are hunting for 3 main things: square footage that is recorded larger than it actually is, areas marked as finished that are actually just raw storage or basements, and old structures like sheds, decks, or pools that you tore down years ago. Take your time with this and pay the absolute closest attention to the gross living area, GLA. A mistake in your primary living space damages your wallet far, far more aggressively than a mistake out in a detached garage. Step 4. If you spot something that doesn't add up, look for a form right there on the county website. It'll be called a tax appeal, a review request, or petition for correction. You submit that simple form, and you attach your proof. The best evidence you can provide is just simple, clear, time-stamped photographs of your home. And here is a little secret most folks don't realize. You do not need to hire an expensive architect to draw up professional blueprints. You can literally grab a $5 tape measure from the hardware store, draw a simple block sketch of your floor plan on a piece of graph paper, and submit that as official evidence. So, not having fancy drawings is not a valid excuse to let City Hall overcharge you. Step 5. Be patient, but be a bulldog about it. Assessors' offices move at the speed of government. They typically process these reviews within 30 to 90 days. But once it is approved, your assessed value is officially adjusted, and your very next tax bill will arrive permanently lowered. Do not let their bureaucratic red tape intimidate you. Errors that have been sitting on the books for 20 long years can be wiped out in an instant if you just provide the evidence. Never, ever assume that just because a mistake is old, it's too late to challenge it. If you have the proof, it is always, always worth the fight. Now, I know some of you are listening to me right now and thinking, Marcus, I'm just not comfortable with computers. I wouldn't know the first thing about navigating a confusing county database. I hear you loud and clear, and I absolutely refuse to let a clunky, frustrating website be the reason you get nickel and dimed through your golden years. So, if you don't like computers, here is what you do instead. You don't have to do this online at all. You can pick up the phone, call the county clerk or the assessor's office directly, and politely tell them to mail you a physical paper copy of your property record card. Or even better, you can put on your coat, drive down to the county courthouse or the administrative building, walk right through the front doors, and sit down across from a real human being. Ask them to pull up your property card on their screen and explain the details to you right there at the desk. It is their job to help you. And if you have a son, a daughter, a grandchild, or a good neighbor who is handy with a mouse, call them up. Ask them to come over, make them a cup of coffee, and ask them to sit down with you for 20 minutes this weekend. There's absolutely zero shame in asking for a hand with this. The only genuine mistake you can make is letting the government keep your money just because the internet felt a little overwhelming. Your property rights belong to you, no matter how you choose to access them. There is always a way to get this done. Before we finish, I have to offer one very serious caution. It's an ugly truth, but whenever there is money to be saved by older adults, the vultures start circling. You should never, ever have to pay an upfront fee to do this. You should not have to surrender a massive percentage of your tax savings to a stranger either. Pulling your record and filing a standard appeal is a free public process designed for everyday citizens. If you get a glossy postcard in the mail or a phone call from some tax reduction agency promising to slash your bills in exchange for 50% of your first year's savings, throw it straight in the trash. Hang up the phone. All those companies are going to do is the exact same free, simple steps I just laid out for you, and then they are going to pocket half of your hard-earned money for doing it. The only tool you need is your county's public website. Now, if your situation is incredibly complex and you need serious legal help, go hire a local, reputable real estate attorney in your town who charges a transparent, flat fee. I recognize I just gave you a whole lot to digest all at once. The record card, the living area calculations, the 30-day appeal windows, the senior exemptions. It's a lot. I've had hundreds of folks ask me to put all of this down in one single place, written in plain, everyday English, with the exact steps and the forms laid out clearly, so you can sit at your kitchen table and actually get it done at your own pace without feeling rushed. So I did exactly that. I put together something called the Homeowners Tax Defense Playbook. It is a no-nonsense, straightforward guide, written specifically for everyday folks who want to protect their property wealth. You can read it right on your iPad, your computer, or you can print it out and keep it in your desk drawer. It holds your hand through this entire process, pulling your card, finding those phantom errors, gathering the right neighborhood comps, and making absolutely sure you secure the senior and veteran exemptions you are owed. It is paired with the exact concrete instructions you need to fight City Hall and actually win. The link to get it is right down in the description below this video. If the free information I give away on this channel has ever helped you save a single dollar, I promise you that Playbook will help you safeguard thousands more. Now, let me bring this all back home because I don't want you to just nod along, close the app, and go about your day. I want you to take action. Your property tax bill is built on top of decades-old, often flawed data. If even one single line of that data is wrong, the county is legally picking your pocket every single year. And I assure you, they will keep doing it until you step up and say, stop. Nobody is coming to your house to audit that file for you, but the document that gives you the power to fix it is sitting on a public server, absolutely free, just 5 minutes away from you right now. Most folks spend more time squinting at a $20 grocery store receipt to make sure they weren't overcharged for eggs than they do looking at the one document that dictates the affordability of their home for the rest of their lives. Do not be one of those people. This is genuinely worth an hour of your time. So today, do this one thing for me and for yourself. Go to your county's website, pull up your property card, read through the structural details of the house you live in, and if a single thing doesn't match reality, file that correction request. That is the whole process. That is exactly how a free piece of public record turns into thousands of dollars in retained wealth for your family. And if you found this video valuable today, do me one favor in return. Share it. Send it to someone you care about who owns a home and is living on a fixed income, especially folks who live in older houses or bought a flipped property or recently lost a spouse. They are the absolute prime targets for overassessment, and they are the least likely to know how to fight back. The county isn't going to call them to offer a discount, but you absolutely can. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next strategy I publish. Stay vigilant, folks, and take care of your homes.